Okay, guys, I think I'm live, but I need some more light. Hold on. Okay, that should just about do it. Okay. All right. Here is the thing. The first thing we have to understand is that we're living in a world where there is collective illusion. And a collective illusion is an illusion where everyone is experiencing the same thing at the same time. Now, how is everyone experiencing the same thing at the same time? Everyone is experiencing the same thing at the time, or an example of collective illusion is, say, for example, you have, let's do this. Everyone think of a number or come up with a number. Before I do that, you know what I want to do? I want to make sure that I'm actually live. So I'm going to go onto my iPad, go to YouTube, and because I love y'all and I want to make sure that you're there. And let's see. Before I do that, let's make sure you guys are here with me.
Hey, Glam fam. So, Allison and Linwood here, and don't mind our tire. We just finished painting. Tons of work. And we are going to go ahead and do Allison's
I was listening to
you guys know she's
some hair tips before I came
right
on.
now, so we're going to take that off and get down to the natural hair. For those of you who are wondering how her color was keeping up, it's grown out and it's got a mouth or the roots. So we're going to go ahead and do.
I'm going to see if this is. Let me see. It seems like when I move this way, there we go. Hi. It says upcoming event. I don't know why it's not. It's telling me that I'm going. It's telling me that I'm live here, but I don't see where. And I don't want to keep talking if you guys can't see me. Well, it's telling me I'm live, but I can't seem to be able to play it. I don't know why. If someone's there, can you say hi or something like that so I know you guys see me? Maybe I'll say something first. I don't see anyone saying anything, but it says I'm live. Okay, well, I guess I'll just hope for the best. Okay. All right, well, okay. We'll go back to it. And you can always rewind or what have you. And the thing is this, going back to the collective illusion. With the collective illusion, it would be in a sense where everyone is experiencing the same thing at the same time. For example, everyone who's watching, pick a number from 0 to infinity and you're all going to have the same illusion at the same time. Okay, so pick a number from 0 to infinity. Just make sure that you can add, subtract, multiply, and divide it all in your head at the same time without paper. Okay, so you got your number, right? Okay, you got your number. Double it. So if your number was 7, now you have 14. Okay, you got your number. Double it. Add 2. Now divide that number by 2. Now subtract that by the number you had at first, 1. And if you forgot your original number, just start over. Okay, let's do it once more. So you pick a number, add 2. You pick a number, double it. So if it's 5, you have 10. If it's 3, you have 6. So you pick a number, double it. I say add 6, divide by 2. Now subtract that by the number you had at first, 3. Now everyone picked a different initial number, but we all came up with the same number at the end. And I'm going to try this once more and see to make sure that I am streaming live. And let me see. I don't know, guys. Let's see. I'm going, but I don't know. Okay, well, let's just hope for the best. Okay. So here's the thing. I spent a large amount of time working and writing a book called Black or White, and I wrote it with Mr. Dick Gregory. And if you're not familiar with Dick Gregory, he's really a person you might want to Google. Dick Gregory was a civil rights activist, comedian, actor, health guru, just a very amazing overall person, a human being that we were very blessed to have on this planet at the same time that we were here. And this is a copy of the book that we wrote together. It's called Black or White, and it's available at blackorwhite.me. That's blackorwhite.me. You can get this book there. And this book talks about all that stuff, about manifestation, diet, how to make things happen. Because see, here's the thing. The universe is a very orderly universe. And with it being a very orderly universe, you can't just ask for things at random times. You have to have a particular unification with the universe. For example, when one reads the Bible, they think, okay, you do this, you do that, and this will happen. And that's not exactly the way that it is. There are certain hours of the day when certain things can and cannot happen because God, the universe, whatever one might want to call it, is an orderly being. So let's say you want to pray for, say, love. That would be Venus, which is Wednesday. You would do that at that particular time. That would probably be about 4 o'clock in the morning. So midnight after Tuesday. So we're going from midnight Tuesday into, or actually 11:59 Tuesday into Wednesday at 12 o'clock a.m. would be the time to ask for that sort of thing, because the planet Venus rules love, which is how that works. So you would ask for that, but you would do it at 5 o'clock in the morning. That's when you would do it. And one of the indications that lets you know that this actually is the way in which it's to be done is when you read the story of Jacob's Ladder. When we read biblical stories, I think our common sense tells us that there is a surface story, but there's also an underlying base story as well. And the base to that is rooted in etymology, which is the study of words. Okay, so Jacob has a vision, a night vision, and he's asleep. And he says that he sees angels going up and down a ladder, ascending and descending all night. This is what he says that he sees. So, what angel means in Hebrew is messenger. So, he sees messages going up and down to the heavens, back to the earth. So, what's happening is we as human beings send our requests, our prayers up at 5 a.m. in the morning, and you send them up, and it reflects back down. It's like as above, so below. So you basically are reflecting what you see above, below. That's why when you read Genesis, it reads that there was water above and below the firmament. The firmament would be the atmosphere, and there's supposed to be water, which is the ocean underneath, and water above. And what happens when you look in water? You see your reflection. So you reflect what you want down up there to reflect itself down here and manifest itself. Okay, now I'm going to explain how it is that etymology, which is the study of words, basically works into and ties into this whole thing. Okay, the youngest countries or the youngest civilization on the planet are the Americas. So that would be North America, South America, Central America, and let's say Mexico. Those are the youngest countries that there are. They are the only ones that basically have a new alphabetical lingo language system. And this system is used when they read. When we read here, we read from left to right. But all over the world and other places, they read from right to left. In China, in the Middle East, with Arabic, with Aramaic, with Hebrew, they all read from right to left. Why is this important? Because there is a certain system that's set into place, and just as not to offend anyone, we'll call them the nations. You know, the upper elite, the upper echelon, or 5%, we'll call them the nations. Okay. So what they do is they have a pact with the universe, and they can't violate that pact, because upon them violating that pact, the rulership that they have over us will end immediately. Okay, so back to the etymology, which is the study of words. Okay, we're reading from left to right, and we always hear in school about homonyms, spelled the same but sounds differently, or sounds the same but spelled differently, right? Okay, so when you hear the word right, you can either write, or it can be in direction or being correct. Okay, how do we know that to read from left to right? I don't know if I'm a mirror image to you all or not, but how do we know that the North Americas have it wrong and that the rest of the world has it right? Well, I'll prove it to you. Okay, like I said, I don't know if this is a mirror image or not, but this is the best way that I can do it for us right now. Okay, this is my right, I'm right-handed, just so you guys know. This would be reading from left to right in this direction. Okay, and this would be reading from right to left, which is the way everybody else on the planet does it except us. How do we know that they're right and we're wrong? Okay, I'm going to show you. Okay, let's say you got 9, 4. I hope you guys can see that. 9, 4, 1, 2, 3, and 7. Okay? All right. Let's make this a 7 also. So we got 9, 4, 7, 2, 3, 7. Okay? Now, the rest of the world reads from right to left, remember? and we read from left to right. Okay, let's add this up the way that the rest of the world does it, which is from right to left. Okay, so 7 plus 7 is 14. Carry the 1. 4 plus 3 is 7. Plus 1 is 8. 9 plus 2 is 11. So you got 1,184. Okay, let's try it again. 9, 4, 7, 2, 3, 7. Okay, now let's add it the way that we do it in North Americas. Okay, so we got 9 and 2, which is 11. All right, carry the 1. 4 and 3 is 7, plus 1 is 8. 7 plus 7 is 14. So there's no way that you could get the correct answer. It's going to be off someplace. So you have to go from right to left and not from left to right. So they're teaching us / our children the wrong thing from the beginning. So this is what happens. They use everything using etymology from the time your children start school, from the time you can remember being in school. Everything happens with etymology and the study of words. Okay, so let's say television. Okay, I want to watch the advent of television. I think was in the late 30s, early 40s was the advent of television. That's the first thing that they call it. And please know that when we get some sort of innovation or technological advancement, please know that they've had it for hundreds of years before that. So anyway, television. Okay, so you got television. They're telling you before you even buy this product that's set up by the elitists that when you buy this thing, we're going to tell lies that you see, tell live vision. Now, if you don't get it, that's on you. But it's incumbent of them to have to tell you what it is that they're doing. They have to tell you what it is. Now, whether you get it or not, whether or not they're covert about it, that's another thing. That goes back to Genesis, which, by the way, isn't the first book of the Bible. It comes in the middle someplace. But anyway, when the serpent deceives Eve, it doesn't lie to her, it deceives her. So they can deceive us, but they cannot lie to us. Okay? They can't do that. If they do that, the spell will be immediately broken. I know it sounds kind of like, did she just say spell? Okay, well, it might sound a little ridiculous, but when you read the Bible, what does it say? It says that God spoke and things came into fruition. He said A, B, C, or X, Y, Z, and these things came, let there be light. He was speaking things into existence. Okay, he was speaking them into existence. So that goes towards the power of speech. When you go to school, the first thing they teach you before they even teach you math is how to spell, which is what you would start with the alphabet. That's literally still spelling or reading. Okay, so spelling comes from the same root of casting spells, because in order to manifest, you have to speak. So this came out of Nigeria before they were conquered by the French, which is another story. But to make a long story short, it went down into Louisiana with the Louisiana Creoles, which is where they have what they call voodoo or witchcraft and Ouija boards and stuff like that. But initially, all of these things came out of Nigeria. And we started to buy and sell slaves within the continent of Africa before the Europeans ever even got there. Now, that doesn't make it okay what they did, but it's still significant to make it clear that that did happen. Okay, now, some of the countries in Africa are actually, they're not countries. Some of the tribes in Africa had stronger ways to make things manifest than others did. Why? Because others migrated from the Middle East there. And also because certain parts of Africa, like the Congo, are more concentrated than other parts of Africa. Nigeria and Ethiopia being two of the strongest. Not Egypt, but Nigeria and Ethiopia. So it was about their geographic location that made them so powerful. And they knew how to make it work being outside of Africa, but it wasn't as concentrated. So basically, I used to always wonder what happened? What was it that went on that we were living in the motherland, all happy and carefree, and then God, the universe, the mother of all, why would it allow these people to come and do this to us? Well, before they ever got there, when they excavated in Africa, they found all types of war paraphernalia, which means that we were fighting each other way before the Europeans ever got there. No, what were we fighting about? Culture patterns. What type of culture patterns? Well, you like cabbage, I like greens. For example, even to this day in Africa, if you're from a certain tribe, they'll give you a certain cut in your face. So if you're from this part, you get this type of cut. If you're from another part, you get another type of cut. And that's not throughout the entire continent, but it's in some places. So because of the fact that we did that and we fought each other and we defiled the land and each other, we had to go back to a sense of cleanliness. And that's the reason why we were allowed by the Most High to come back to, or go to, I should say, the Americas via the Ivory Coast, or New Guinea, if you will, and go towards what they call the New World, which is here. But the first thing they did is the worst thing that they did, which was they stopped in the islands first. So let's say Haiti, Puerto Rico, Cuba. And then they kept buying and selling us until they got to North America. They kept unloading slaves off the boat until they got to North America. Now, because the French and the Europeans had already conquered those particular places and colonized them, like they colonized Nigeria, that caused for them to begin to start mating. That's how you have a lighter Nigerians, or lighter Africans, I should say, on the continent of Africa. That's how you have really, really dark Cubans and really, really light Cubans, or really, really dark Puerto Ricans and really, really light Puerto Ricans, because they all were coming from the continent of Africa. And then they got off the boat first. But it's just like if you decide, God forbid, that you're going to take everybody in, let's say, Inglewood captive and put them on the boat. Okay, you're going to start at Morningside High School. So you're going to put them in there. Then you're going to go to Crenshaw, put them in there. Then you're going to go to Inglewood, put them in there. Then you're going to go to St. Mary's Academy and put them in there. And you just keep going that way. And you put them all in the boat and load them in that way. Okay, by the time you get where you're going, the group that you put in last is going to come out first. And the group you put in first is going to come out last. Meaning the ones that came out to get together generally knew one another and could speak one another's lingo. Okay, not all the time, but for the most part. Okay, so let's say St. Mary's Academy gets off first. Okay, St. Mary's Academy gets off first and they're left in Haiti. And then they take the next pile to Cuba, which let's say is Inglewood High School and Crenshaw and so forth. Okay, well, when St. Mary's Academy got off in Haiti, they were the most powerful when it came to being able to make things manifest. So when Napoleon and the French attacked Haiti, they were unsuccessful because of the power that the Haitians had. Okay, so you ask, the litmus test is, well, why weren't they powerful enough to keep this from happening in the first place? Well, because they violated the covenant that they had with the universe, which was to live in harmony, which they did not do. Okay, so after a certain period of time, transpired, people started taking the Haitian traditions down to the Americas, like New Orleans and places like that, or the Gullah Geechee Nation in the Carolinas and places like that. So when Napoleon went into Haiti and were beaten, they couldn't believe it because at that particular time they had the greatest army that was on the planet at that particular time. So they found out that they were doing something that was called, or that the French called, voodoo. And it wasn't any more occultish, if you will, than deja vu. And deja vu is simply means things hidden or things unseen, things not seen, or things seen, or things hidden. It's like you feel like you've been someplace before, or you feel like you've experienced a thing before. And what voodoo means in French is spiritual atom, or spirit and atom. And a spiritual atom just means that they use spirit and they use atoms, which the body is composed of, to defend and or attack their enemy, and to which they prevailed. Okay, so at this particular point, let's fast forward to right now. You have Santeria, you have, let's say, the Orishas, you have what they called shaman, you have what they call psychics, and different people like that who actually say that they can make things come to fruition. I met this guy here in LA, and he said that he went to Haiti and he was initiated and he became a high priest. Okay. And he has all these pictures around his place. I was just interested, just curious. And there's so many celebrities that went to Haiti as well to be initiated as well. Well, there's this girl, her name is, I can't think of the girl's name, but she's in the entertainment business, and she outed this guy, Azalea Banks, that's her name. And she said that he was fake and that he couldn't make things come to fruition. Whether he can or not, I don't know. But what I do know is that when I sat down and talked to this guy, so that when I brought this information to you, it would be solid, is that I asked him a question. And he was really, in my opinion, racist. And when I asked him the question, he didn't really answer it to my standards. So I asked the same question in another way. That's the lawyer in me, right? And he said, you know what? I really don't understand Black people. You guys have more curves than an ear. And I'm like, okay, I don't want to go off on you because I don't know how potent your power is, right? Or whatever it is you call yourself doing in here. So I asked him another question about and they consider this a religion or something that they practice in, not in lieu of, but in conjunction with their own religion, be they Catholic, Baptist, Jewish, whatever. This is what they do. So when I asked him the question, I don't even remember what it was. He said, well, that's personal. You can't ask me that. That's sacred, with my people. And I said, well, wait a minute. You just told me that this originated in Nigeria. And he said, yes, that's right. I was so freaking livid when he said that to me, because you're going to literally steal our culture, take it away from us, and then call it your own, and then not share it, which is essentially our own fault. Because how did they get this information in the first place? We gave it to them. Why do we give it to them? That's our inherent nature as melanated people. We're kind, loving, giving. We want to share and live in harmony and all this kind of stuff. And historically, that's how brown people are up until the point that we start dealing with each other. That's when we start getting selfish. We become selfish when we deal with one another. Why that's the case, I don't know. But historically, that's the way that it's been. Okay. please pay attention to the things that people, particularly the nations, say, because there can be all manner of things found in etymology. For example, Adam. They say the first man that ever lived, ever created, was Adam. It doesn't say his name was Adam. It said he was Adam, right? Okay, here's the thing. We're back to the homonyms. In religion, Adam is first. In science, in order to have anything from the periodic table of the elements, you have to start with what? An atom. So it's essentially the same story. And they cannot lie, so they couldn't call him Charlie. They had to call him Adam. Because if they call him Charlie, oh, you just violated it, right? You just violated the covenant with the universe, and then it will revert back. And this is kind of on the side. I'll say this on the side. That's why Meghan Markle is able to be in or a part of the royal family now, because they need her melanin. Because the Caucasian race is slowly but surely dying out. They can't take it. The sun is just too overwhelming for them. So, in order to have a buffer, they used Obama as a buffer. But they don't want to have someone who's African American or anyone with a slave heritage in that White House. So, what they did is they said, what do we do? Okay, we'll take an American white woman, and we'll take a African man from Africa, which means she has no blood ties to the transatlantic slave trade because she's white, and his father has no ties to the transatlantic slave trade because he was born and raised in Africa. Never ever never had any trace of any ancestry from the transatlantic slave trade. So you've got Obama in office, when he was in office, a brown man who has absolutely no ties to you and I in terms of having lineage of slavery. Okay, so they put him there as a buffer, so you get to becoming used to see someone brown in one of the most superpowers on the planet, which would be the United States and Great Britain. So you put him there first, and then they slide her in, and they figured out that they're really cousins on whomever's side, Meghan Markle and Henry, I think his name is. But anyway, so this way, she's raised up in Catholicism because she went to Immaculate Heart, so she knows all about the different rituals and things like that. Now, I went to Catholic school, so I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with people who are Catholic. But what I am saying is that when you start looking into your saints, so you got St. Anthony, you start looking at St. Peter, St. Paul, all these different people, all of these saints' names are basically using some sort of a mask, a guise, or a ruse. Because when they were slaves in Cuba, Puerto Rico, and places like this, they wanted to worship the Booga Booga gods. So in order to worship the Booga Booga gods, they said, what we'll do is we'll give these Booga Booga gods different names. And that's how the names of the different saints came into play, because of not being able to be the plantation owners not wanting them to worship. So that's what they did. And they figured out that these people had powers. And not only did they have powers to make manifestations, but they themselves, the plantation owners, needed help from these slaves. Why? Because, think about it. You have a plantation, let's say that's 500,000 acres or 5,000 acres. Imagine how long it would take for the nearest doctor to get to where someone is who's ill. A long time. By the time they get there, the most simple, sickness would kill a person. And not only that, on a lot of land, by the time you hit the front gate, a lot of times you could travel literally as far as 5 miles from the front gate of those plantations to the actual front door of the plantation house where these people resided. So they needed people who were there on, on the grounds, on the plantation. So they used the people who they saw, who they heard from other slaves, usually people who lived in the house, about the people who lived in the fields, who knew how to make these things come to fruition. And that's what they did. Okay. I'm trying to think of another etymological word that they use to. It's just you. It's like you can't get away from it. They're constantly doing that. Okay. The one of the things that I don't want to forget to touch on is the universal power that we do have to manifest. And the universal power that we have to manifest, or that we possess to bring things to fruition, is the inherent power that we have. And I'll give you a great example. If you go to Best Buy or Fry's or even the Apple Store and you buy a operating system, so you get your warranty, get your iOS system, they give it to you, you take it home, you start to use it. Every time you get ready to do a Word document, you don't want to have to consult with the Apple Store. You shouldn't have to call Best Buy, because everything that you need in that computer is on the motherboard. Now, worst case scenario, you'll start to run out of hard drive, which will mean you'll either get another computer, or you'll upload it to an external hard drive, or get another hard drive. But for the most part, when you get an operating system, you use it and you don't have to consult the person who programmed it. They programmed it for you so that you can be independent of the Apple Store. Okay, I say that to say, when God created the universe, he created you as a little mini God, so that you do not have to consult with the universe every time you decide to do something. Like, let's say something as mundane as get up and get a glass of water. You don't have to consult with it to do that. All you have to do is do what? Get up, have a thought, want to get the water, and make it manifest. So this is exactly how the idea of having a computer even came up, because a computer is a replication of your body, is what it is. So in the book that I collaborated with Gregory, the first thing I did was I wanted it to be clear, first off, that you possess the power to do the things that you need and want to do on your own. For example, when you get to pass the dedication, which is to my mom, and you get past the foreword and that sort of thing, the first thing you'll get to is this page, where up here it reads God's Mirror. And when you look in it, you see yourself. You see a picture of you, so that you get it. You know what I mean? So the first thing I wanted to do is to get you to understand and convey to a person, when they first open it up, that you're the one who manifests your destiny. And I know people have said that, oh, you're the captain of your destiny, this, that, and the other, but you didn't tell me what to do to make it happen. Okay. So underneath the mirror, it reads, consider what you do well. Incorporate that with what you want to do, and there will be guaranteed success. And what that means is that if you want to be a singer, but you know you can't sing, then you probably need to go to auto-tune or plan B. You know what I mean? If you want to be a dancer and you know you don't have rhythm, then maybe you need to try and want to be something else. So that's why it reads, consider what you do well. Because if you consider what you do well, then you'll never actually work at it. You'll never actually feel like you're working. You'll just feel like you're just fulfilling yourself in what you want to do to make yourself happy. So consider what you do well. You do it well. Take what you do well and incorporate that, commingle it with what you want to do. Okay? And then once you incorporate that with what you want to do, let's say, what do you do well? Let's say you have a really good memory. Okay? So you have a really good memory, incorporate that with what you want to do. Let's say you like to help people. Okay? So if you have a really good memory and you want to help people, well, you can either become a doctor, because all you have to do in order to be a good doctor is know how to reverse engineer a body. So once you are an intern and then you start to watch the attending physician do what they do and you recall how to do it, you incorporate what you want to do, which is help people, and what you do well, which is your memory, and you will have guaranteed success at being a great doctor. That's all I'm really saying. It's nothing really hocus pocus or anything like that about it. It's really fruitful. Okay? So we go on to the back to the point of the language. Okay? Again, just as the Americas are the youngest countries on the planet, so is their language. And because their language is so young, what they did, for lack of a better way of putting it, was jack all the other languages. Okay. So English, basically, that's the reason why Portuguese, if you can speak Portuguese, you can speak Spanish. If you can speak Portuguese and Spanish, you can speak Italian. Okay. So, and then there's Latin. And that's the reason why when you speak English, if you think about it, there's some sort of link to Latin in there. For example, with the nations, they used to literally marry their brother and sister. Siblings used to marry one another. Okay. So they kind of encrypted it in their language. For example, in Spanish, brother is hermano, right? But let's break it down into syllabic form. Hermano, hermano, okay? It means brother. Brother is her man. Her brother is her man. You get where I'm going here? Okay? And then sister is hermana, so it's just, you just put an A on the end. And this is the kind of sick stuff that you have to try and figure out in order to be able to cohabitate in the same place as this beast, because they are serious about not giving up the throne. I mean, they are extremely serious about theirs. They are not playing. They are cagey. They will kill you. They will cuss God out, curse the universe out to get what they want and to stay in power. But it's not going to happen. How it's going to manifest itself, I'm not exactly sure. But the most recent thing, I should say, that I'm aware of that they've done to try and stay in power is the immunization shots. The immunization shots that you have for your children, that you get for your children for school. Okay. When I was a kid, I really don't remember getting immunization shot. I think I remember getting one, and that one, I had to drink something. It wasn't like a physical shot. I don't recall. But even at that time, there may have been like a battery of 5 or 6 shots, chicken pox, rubella, that kind of thing. Now there's like over a series of 30 shots. So when you say a series of 30, then that means more than 30. Where are all these freaking shots coming from? Okay, I'll tell you. First, let me preface it by saying this. I am not saying that I have anything against anyone who is a homosexual. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that at all. But what I am saying is that I personally believe in the union between a man and a woman. That's what I believe. And I believe that that's the best thing for me and how I live. Why? Because if we apply a little bit of common sense to it, If everybody on the planet decided to be heterosexual, mankind would go on as normal. However, if everyone on the planet decided to be homosexual, at some point, mankind is going to cease to exist. And just kind of using that logic, I'm saying that to say the LGBTQ community, or whatever the acronym is, not to disrespect it, but whatever it is, they feel that they should be able to love who they want to love on, how they want to love, and not have anyone impede on their right to do it the way that they do it. Well, my thing is this. If I don't impede upon a lesbian, gay, or transgender to live the way that they want to live and think that it's right, then I don't think that any gay, lesbian, transition, or bi person should impede upon my moral or ethics and belief system in thinking that that's not the thing for me. If I'm not impeding on your right to be for it, then you shouldn't impede upon my right to be against it. And that's just how I feel about that. But back to the immunization shots. There have always been homosexuals. There probably always will be homosexuals. However, let's just be honest for a second. We are seeing more homosexuals now than we have ever seen in the history of the planet. And it's not because people are feeling like they're able to come out of the closet. That's not it. There are literally more homosexuals than there used to be. Why is this? I'll tell you why. If you look at the number of homosexuals that there are right now, they are generally going to be the majority of them are going to be born around 1980, between 80 and 85. Okay. So if they're born between 1980 and 85, that's going to make them about 35 or younger, around that age. Why? Because of the presidential administrations. So let me just bear with me for a minute. I'm going to make it make sense in just a second. Okay. As far as I can go back in terms of my memory, I can remember President Jimmy Carter being in office. Before he was in office, President Ford was in office when I was born. Okay. But I don't remember President Ford. And if I'm not mistaken, he was only president because Nixon was impeached. Okay. So after Jimmy Carter came Reagan. Under Reagan as vice president, he had George Bush, the one who just passed away. Okay. And then after there was Reagan, and then after Reagan, there was George Bush, the father. Okay. And then after him, there was a small recess with Clinton. Okay. And then came back George W. Bush, the son. Okay. And the reason why this is important is because it's as though there was never a break in the administration, with the exception of Clinton. The Clintons were the ones who were, every administration has a particular policy that they want to put in action. The action that the Clintons focused on was called, it was the population control. The Clintons' thing was population control. There are too many people, not in America, but on the planet. Okay? So what the Clintons did is they put in, you don't have to believe it, because you believing it doesn't validate it being true or not. All I can do is tell you, they literally put a hormone into the immunization shots, and they put female hormones into the males and male hormones into the females, causing them to have this sense of gender confusion. That's the reason why you have so many of these unfortunate young people who do feel like, on one hand, they're gay, but on the other hand, they can't live with it and they want to end their lives. It's because it's gender confusion. Now, all throughout the years that they've ever had homosexuals, they were homosexuals, but nobody wanted to kill themselves because of it. No one even really told anybody. But okay, let's fast forward and bring it back. Okay, so they figured, okay, we inject them with the opposite hormones, upkeep it with the food that they eat. That's when they started having all the GMOs in the foods, right? And we'll maintain it that way. That's why you see such a mass amount of homosexuals. And what that is doing to all of the homosexuals who was, like, say, older than them, who were born before, let's say, 1970 or 1975, all that's doing is making them feel more comfortable about being openly gay. Therefore, you have not the illusion of more homosexuals, but you have more homosexuals. And it's very unfortunate because, again, I don't have anything against anybody who wants to live that way. But if someone wants to live that way, they should be able to choose to live that way and not be a victim of population control via the Clinton administration. That's not right. And I'm not focusing on exclusively the Clinton administration. It's the United States government, period. And it's not exclusively Republicans. It's not exclusively Democrats. It is all of them. It's the entire, what they call, hierarchy. It's all of them, period. Okay? So now you have these people, these kids, unfortunately. I mean, I don't know what else I can say because there's just too many. It's overwhelming. It's like team too much. It's like, you know what I'm saying? It's not that. And then it's one thing to be gay, you know, but it's another thing to be over the top. Okay, you actually if you want to be gay, that's one thing. That's fine. I mean, that's one thing. But if you actually want to change your gender, physically change your gender, that's something different. Whatever it is that they're pumping into these people, these kids, it's awful because they're actually having these feelings. And at this point, you don't know the ones who've been infected with these immunization shots versus the ones who would have been gay anyway. But anytime you have a man who arbitrarily decides to take an elective surgery and have his penis literally cut in half, inverted, and his testes cut off. I mean, I don't really know the recipe to it, but I know that essentially the penis has to go. Something is not, I mean, every man that I know is kind of, partial to his penis. I mean, I think, something is wrong with that when people get that deep. Now, there's another part. I don't want to get away from manifestation. I don't want to get away from that because that's what this is about. So basically, what one needs to do in order to manifest is start to read or understand and accept the surface and the basis and the base, which is the bottom, and the surface, which is the top of reading the Bible. Now, some people call it a book of spells. I just say that it's a book that you can utilize to make things manifest if you know how to. Okay, so I've already told you about getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning and entreating the universe for what it is that you want. Okay, now every single day, Sunday being the first day of the week, no, Monday is not the first day of the week, Sunday being the first, and there actually aren't names That's very important too. The days of the week do not have names. They have been assigned names. Why? Because every day is ruled by a particular planet. Sunday is ruled by the sun. Monday is ruled by the moon. And then Tuesday and Wednesday, the Mars and Venus and all that. Okay. So whatever it is that you want, you have to figure out what that particular planet rules, you know. And then once you figure out what that particular planet rules, which is going to be part 2, because I got to do some stuff, I'll tell you what the first day of the week, which has been called Sunday to make it easier. The nations call it Sunday. Actually, Constantine changed it when he allegedly changed Christianity. I'll do a second video telling you what each planet rules and what it does. On Sunday, which is the first day, on Monday, which is the moon, the second day, Wednesday, which is Venus and Mars, and the whole deal. And you'll understand why certain things happen at certain times. Like when people say, oh, it's a full moon, this person's acting kind of strange, and how a woman's cycle is in symmetry with the moon, and it's in symmetry with the tides and how high they are and that sort of thing. And why people become depressed when it rains, why they're happier when it's sunny, and that sort of thing. And we'll talk about that, the most major homonym on the planet, which is sun, S-U-N versus S-O-N. So I'm trying to think if there was anything else that I wanted to share with you before we get into the part 2. Oh, yes, there is. Okay, the vibration of color. Color is not for nothing. Colors make things happen too. And, I've gotten to a point in my life where I really don't care what people think about me. You can think what you want to think. I believe I know God is a woman. I know that it takes a female to be able to deal with me and all of my mess. I know it takes a female to be able to deal with this world and all of its mess, because if it were the male energy, if it were the male principle versus the female principle, we would have all been dissipated long ago. We would have all atrophied a long time ago. So I say that to say, you can think I'm nuts if you want, but there are certain things that go along with colors. Okay, for example, it's no accident that on, let's say, Valentine's Day, or any day for that matter, a man might give you red roses. There is an energy in the color red. Men are attracted to red naturally or inherently, and women are inherently attracted to blue. And if you want to manifest love, then you would work with the color red. I just said it. Okay. So, like a red candle. Okay, you would work with a red candle. Some people don't work with the big ones. They like to work with the small ones. But the difference between the big ones and the small ones is that the big candles, they'll burn for 7 days. And 7 is a number of completion. And we'll talk about numerology too, to make it make sense. So with the color red, what one would do probably, and has a long stem here, what they would do is take like a toothpick, and depending on what number you deal with numerically, you would take a toothpick or a pencil, whatever. Maybe not a pencil because it might be lead and you want it to just be wood. You would take a wooden toothpick, and you would just prod holes into it, right? And some people use 7. But if I were to do it, I'd use 9. But let me say this before I go any further. It's not a good idea. If someone doesn't want you, it would probably be a good idea not to try and make them want you. Okay, I mean, that's just me. Okay, so I'm saying that to say, if harmony is so important, okay, and when the Bible talks about being equally yoked, it's not talking about, she likes football, I like football, she's cool, she likes the Lakers. No, it's not talking about that. when it says to be equally yoked, every man and every woman, when they come together, they should equal the God force number or the cosmic number, which is the most powerful number in the universe when combined, which is not 1, but 9 when they come together. So let's say me, my birthday's April 3rd. So 4 and 3 are 7. So I need to have a partner who can make me whole, equally yoked, whole, right? And total of 9. Okay. So that person would need to have, let's say, for example, a birthday of, I don't know, January 1st. Okay. So that way he's a 2, I'm a 7. Together, we're 9. Okay. Dick Gregory told me that he married his wife, Lillian, and he said that he married her because he got her pregnant, not because he was necessarily in love with her. And that when they got married, they just happened to equal a 9. And they stayed together forever until he died and had 10 very beautiful children. Okay, so that's just the thing. But anyway, again, if someone doesn't want to be with you, it would probably behoove you just to let it go. But if you guys are in sync and you're cool, everything's good, and you want to be together and everything, hey, do it together. You could take a toothpick and you would prod. Some people do 7. Personally, I do 9, or would do 9. Put 9 holes in it, and then you would take something like grapeseed oil or olive oil, and you and your partner together. Okay, you're not trying to cast a spell on her to make her do what you want. You're not trying to cast a spell on him. Not that you could do it if you wanted to make him leave his wife or something like that. That wouldn't be evil. And what goes around comes around, and you would get that back. Trust me. And how you get them is what? How you lose them. But anyway, but if you are in harmony with your mate and you want to do that, you do that, and you stick the 9 holes in there, put the oil in there, light it, and let it burn for 7 days. And every day you entreat that particular planet that is ruling for that particular time, and you'll manifest that. Now, let's say, for example, you want money. Money isn't green for nothing, okay? All over the world, you find money green. And if you find it red or another color, 9 times out of 10, it's a third world country, and they don't have a lot of money because they're not using the green vibration to bring them money, good fortune, or, whatnot. Okay. Now, green generally is supposed to help you with anything, but money in particular. Okay. So you would stick your 9 holes in there, and in which case it would only involve you. You know what I'm saying? You're not trying to take anybody else's money. You're just asking the universe to bring you money. So you stick your 9 holes in there, put your oil that you manifested your intentions into first, okay? Then once you put it in there, you manifest your intentions into the candle and you burn it for 7 days. But you focus on it more on the day that particular planet that rules over money or fortune would be more prevalent. Okay. Let's say, I got a white candle over there. Let's say you just want a clear mind, you just want peace, you just want serenity, and that sort of thing. If that's the case, then you would go with a white candle, do the same thing, and manifest peace, harmony. And because white is pure, white would be something that you could ask for anything. Okay? Black is a stopper or a blocker. If something is happening that's making you unhappy, then you would use black to block that or stop it and do it for the whole 7 days. Okay. So again, it's very essential that you know what planet rules what particular thing. Okay. I'm already like over an hour in. The time went very fast. So what I'm going to do now is end the video and let you know that the next video on next Sunday is going to involve letting you know exactly what it is that you do at what particular time in the universe to make what you want come to manifestation. So we've learned how to manifest. Remember, 5 o'clock in the morning, ask for anything you want. That's the time when everything goes. Okay, but if you want to get specific, it's kind of like a roulette table. You can bet on black or you can bet on red, but you'll get the least amount of money, unless, of course, it falls on green. But the more specific you get, the more money you get. Okay, that's where the roulette table basically came from. Okay, that's why it has colors on it, red and black, which most people kind of put in symmetry with the occult. Okay, so the more specific you get with your request, the faster it's going to come. The likelihood of it staying is going to happen. And the likelihood of your being happy with it is also going to exist. And the reason why I say that is because, you know, that old saying, be careful what you ask for, because oftentimes you'll ask for something and it's not exactly what you want and you'll be stuck with it. I don't watch TV, but my mom has been visiting a lot. And for whatever reason, she has it on, like Kardashian. And one of the girls was saying that she had heard that you can freeze a person. And what she's talking about is if you want to keep a mate, some say that you put their name on a piece of paper with your name, put water in like a Ziploc bag, put it in the freezer and freeze it, and that will bind you together. That's what, now I'm just repeating what she said. Maybe now we can understand why all these brothers are going crazy behind these Kardashians. I don't know. But I'm just telling you that it's nothing new to freeze. You know, I've heard of it, but then I go and revert back to what I said before. Why would you want to be with someone who doesn't want to be with you? I don't get that. I mean, maybe some may. I'm not that person. I'm not that girl. But again, know that 5 o'clock in the morning is the general time to request anything you want. But the more specific you get, the more likely it's going to happen, and the faster and the more likely you'll be happy with it and that it'll stay. And I'll touch on how and when those times are on next Sunday at 2:15. Love you guys, and may you be blessed and continue to elevate. I love you. Dr. Leah.